But should it be players, right?
No, the player is the thing that's playing the music.
Yeah, but it is playing the music. It's not speaking the music, is it? It's sounding the music.
But if you're playing an instrument, you are the player.
Yeah, sure. But I still think speaker doesn't sound right. Because speaking is something that humans do, right? Not what a machine
All
does.
animals speak.
Yeah, that's what I mean. A living thing speaks. I don't think an animal object can speak.
Well, how does a record player work?
That, not radiates. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it? What is it called when a vibration is like fucking expanded?
Yeah, but how does the needle work?
Well, through vibration.
So the needle in the record.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I've never understood.
Really?
No.
So the idea is, right, that so it's like a, you know, the marimbas, or like a marimba, or a like a little music box, and you spin it, and it clicks on things, and it goes ding, 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 ding with each one.
Yes, I know that bit.
Yeah. So imagine that the needle is so fine that each ridge, as it hits, makes a sound that then is amplified. That's the word I'm looking for. It's an amplifier. And if you actually go onto a record without the amplifier and get your head really close to it, you'll actually hear the song playing on the record as the needle hits and reverberates.
How sure are you about
like
this?
100%. Like that's like the music is quite literally printed. Like the shape of a song is literally printed into a record player, and it's the shape of that song that causes the vibrations from the needle to make the different sounds.
Okay.
Which is when you think about how the complexity of some music, of how it can all make it onto this tiny little fucking record, is actually kind of insane. But yeah, that's how records are made.
Oh, okay. Welcome to Magic the Flavouring, the Magic the Gathering podcast, where we talk about all things magic, flavour design and lore. I'm your host, Andy Mann.
Hello, it's Nathan Cancel.
And Dustmorn stories are out today, so naturally we're talking about Bloomburrow.
Are we talking or are we speaking?
Oh, fucking hell. So we obviously took a few weeks off there because I think we were just a little bit burnt out after Amsterdam, and you had some stuff going on.
Boomtown.
You had Boomtown, which is one of the UK's better music festivals, and I was getting my boat welded because I had a leak.
Is it good now? Is it alright? Everything's fine?
Yeah, it looks like it's been butchered, but
really?
it's always fine.
Can you like paint over it or do it?
Yeah.
Kind of,
so where the welding is, they put like paint on it because you've got to protect the metal, right? Mm-hmm. But obviously they're not going to give a shit about colour matching my boat, because why would they?
What's wrong with a patchwork boat?
I mean,
oh god, that's terrible.
What are you drinking?
Strawberry flavour with vodka and lemonade. Oh wow, the thing is quite literally strawberry flavour with vodka and lemonade.
Hey, well, we're Magic the Flavouring.
Ooh,
don't knock flavour.
Fantastic, yeah, good point. It is robust in whatever flavour it's trying to portray. I will say that much.
Flavour picks for the Bloomburrow. For the Bloomburrow.
For the Bloomburrow.
The Bloomburrow doesn't sound too bad.
No.
The Bloomburrow, that sounds like it could be a location in this set.
Yeah, well, because we've only seen the Valley, right? And the rest of the play, we assume...
Valley.
Sorry, we've only seen Valley.
Yes.
Yeah, which I guess has loads of valleys within it. But yeah, Bloomburrow. It's like Lorwyn meets Eldraine, but with Sylvanian families.
Everyone keeps talking about Sylvanian. Someone else was talking to me about Sylvanian families.
It's because of the mice, man.
Is there like a millennial obsession with Sylvanian? Is it on TikTok at the moment?
No, I don't think so. It was because it's like an old school, like American toy for like kids, right? With their little mices and their little houses. And like, I always looked at it. Yeah, they remind me of like Mormons for some reason, or not Mormons, the Amish, like little mices with their little old school houses, getting up to nonsense with little felt furry kind of models.
First of all, if any of the Amish are listening to this podcast, I think that would be rather unlikely.
Isn't that against their culture?
Well, I don't know. The whole point about what I'm about to say is that I'm not going to jump in.
I did not have that problem.
I don't think anyone's going to give a shit if we, assume things about the Amish, but, I know nothing about them.
I was under the presumption that I don't think they're likely to listen to a Magic the Gathering podcast. But,
all right.
Who
knows?
There may be.
Hit us up.
But this is cute, right? This is cute.
This set is wonderful.
It's delightful.
So I think with our Flavour Picks episodes, I feel like we've gotten a little bit too loosey-goosey with some of them. So I am going to actually, read some of the specifics about this set.
Yes.
We used to care about things
funny?
like the art director.
Do you know what one of the top things is? Zach Steller, art director.
Zach Steller.
I was going to bring it up immediately.
He does not miss.
No.
He does not miss. Every set, and I think he's done a lot recently as well. In fact, I might go onto his page and sort of find out exactly which ones. But I seem to, every time I go, this set is visual fucking gold. It's always Axtella. Absolutely crazy. Here we go. Adventures of Forgotten Realms, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, Dominaria United, Dominaria Remastered, Bloomburrow. That was a burp.
That was a burp.
Wow. Codename Ziplining. So he's doing an upcoming one. For some reason, I thought...
Well, Kamigawa was the last set I can remember that I thought was through and through absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, Dominaria is a very visually cohesive... For such a huge
for having
plane.
such a varied geography.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of actually grants it more identity because there's more different things you can go, well, that's Dominaria.
And also, what I would say about all the Dungeons & Dragons sets, so you did AFR, but also, obviously, you have Battle for Baldur's Gate. But one of the big praises I have for those sets, even though, I mean, I know a lot of people think they're gameplay, but actually I feel like with the visual identity of them, they look like they're Magic cards, but they also look like they're D&D. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't just really look like Magic with tieflings in it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, I feel like they've been nailing that a lot recently with the different Universes Beyond projects. I feel like they've found a really good way to keep Magic's identity whilst also still repping whatever it is that they're translating really well.
But I think the whole set, just from top to bottom, you can tell, just even before we talk about the cards, like, there's so much love put into this set. Look at the fucking set symbol. That maple leaf is insanely
compare that to Block Hat from the last set, and you can see the difference in care and attention.
Or weirdly flat dagger.
I do feel like more and more now that Thunder Junction was just this filler set where they're like, we need a bit more time before we get to the good shit again. You know, not to rag on it too hard.
I mean, looking back on Thunder Junction, there's so much stuff that shines in that set, and it's just much like panning for gold. You got to work so fucking hard to see it that you just wonder why.
Yeah.
Fuck. So I mean, it's very apt then for the Old West, really.
It is, yeah.
But we're here to talk about Bloomburrow.
We are.
This is not a big set. It's less than 300 cards.
Which, with all of the alternate artworks, I think balances out probably.
Yeah, but like, you know, I don't know, man. It just feels... But
it does feel very nice and neat and contained. It doesn't feel too big.
I know we don't talk a lot about the the gameplay on its own, isolated from the flavour, like, because that's what we're talking about here, the mel versus the flavour and all that kind of stuff. But I know a lot of people are considering this to be something of one of their down-powered sets. But everything I've read and seen, because like I do care about the mechanics of the game, of course I fucking do, it's almost a unanimous thing, and looking at the card gallery, it's easy to see. It's almost like they're going, it's not Nutter Butter's bonkers power, but it's a fun, cohesive, tit-for-tat, limited environment.
Yeah. And there seems to be lots of, cards aren't less complicated, they just do slightly less, they have slightly less oomph, which they can balance off really well with the aesthetic being something really cutesy that people automatically want to invest in. Like, you don't notice the depowering as much when the cards kind of balance out with cuteness and adorableness. You know, you want to play these cards because the mechanics are cool and the cards look nice and they all play well together and synergistically. You don't really notice that you're not, like, if someone has a hammer... What analogy am I trying to make here? If someone attacks with power 10 against a power 10, it's equal and it's fun. It's just really explosive. Yeah. And then when you compare it to other things around it that are less powered, it stands out. When you're hitting 5 power against 5 power, you're still enjoying yourself. You're still having fun. Obviously, you're not going to be able to compete with the 10 power, but you don't have to worry about the 10 power because you're working in a limited environment, right?
If you have a big hammer and I have a big hammer, we both hit each other in the face with the hammer, we're both equally going to either win or lose. Mm-hmm. And if I attack you with a bunch of straws and you've got a bunch of straws, and we tickle each other.
God, that sounds horrible. Why straws?
I don't know.
They're bendy, they kind of
That's
snag.
kind of why they're like the antithesis of like a hammer. I liken it to things like chess, right? Like, the pieces on a chessboard they're not like OP or like whatever compared to the last game of chess you had. Like, they are all at parity. You have exactly the same pieces as someone else does. But it is really much like how you play. Are the pieces balanced? Are the games balanced? Like, are there different play styles you can have? And sometimes we're in a set where someone just drops the Planeswalker and goes, well, I win. It doesn't feel great as opposed to having lots of little interactions here and there. Mm-hmm. Those are the best sets. I mean, we'll talk about some of the mechanics and some of the new sort of things in how they are flavorful. But some of them in this set are they're so bizarrely underpowered in some ways. But they make this set feel more alive and more balanced than some of the really splashy effects we've had in recent sets. Which sort of, they don't even feel like magic anymore. Well,
you've got to dig the value out of this. Like, again, a set that has low power, high synergy, you can build that deck in so many different ways and kind of flex up and down. Like you see, especially. So one of the real tricks for this is that they've grouped all of the 10 various critters into groups of 4. And there's overlap between that. Yeah. So, for example, otters obviously can pair with lizards, but then they can also pair with mice in terms of like overlapping abilities. Little things like offspring having loads of token production, a lot of and squirrels wanting to go wide. Like there's so much overlap and cross synergy that the set really feels malleable. And I'm sure I mean we haven't obviously played any limited for it, and I don't know if there is like the thing that typically will happen on a Magic Arena where you'll have like, well, you need to be in this colour.
You need to play frogs or
yeah, it's like green's ridiculously underpowered unless no one drafts it because everyone knows it's shit, and then you open the nuts. You know, that kind of back and forth I'm not sure of, but it does feel like all of the different mechanics that you can balance off of each other all make sense on the cards themselves, and then also feel cute and work and that they work with each other. You know, all of these little critters are all rallying together against the calamities.
Well, this is it. If you compare this set to the archetypal tribes against each other set, which is Ravnica, right? When you have the 10 guilds, 10 pairs of colours. And you can have crossover, and in fact, they obviously build in crossover for limited environments, and they'll add in a bunch of characters and cards which are like guildless or sort of, you know, they're just monocolour whatevers. They're a person with a stick, and you're like, okay, they're a white person. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? They're a white.
White manor. White
manor aligned.
Yeah.
Just us crazy white people running around with sticks.
That's not untrue.
Then, like, you compare it to something like this, where the whole point of Ravnica is that these guilds are antagonistic towards each other. And so even if you do have synergies, you might, so even subconsciously, really, just build Boros as in, like, well, Boros really works with Boros cards and X, Y, and Z. Whereas with this, because they've done so much work, they've done as much work with Ravnica over, like, 5 or 6 sets with this one set, where they did that 3-page article about the fucking world building, and all of the critters have their own checks and balances and relationships with other critters, but at no point are they just like, rabbits fucking hate otters. Do you know what I mean? Like, they go, oh, sometimes mice and otters kind of butt heads because they've got different views on impulsiveness, but, you know, they still are all part of the same unit, and they're coexisting. So to have whatever colours you're in and just being like, yeah, I can have a mice and an otter and fucking crawl claws here and whatever else, like, it doesn't feel like, it all feels so cohesive.
It feels really cohesive. Yeah, it's very well put together set. It's visually really pleasing, like, and aesthetically really pleasing. I feel like mechanically, again, it works. It's a thumb up in my book, so I'll say that much. Should we get into some nitty gritty though? Should we actually talk some specificity? Should we get into some mechanics?
Yeah.
Gift.
Oh, this is the one I was talking about.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this mechanic?
Gift's real cool. It's the
wild.
card gift a fish, mate.
That's exactly my example.
Gift a fish, mate.
Gift a tapped fish.
Like, what the fuck? Like, here, I want to make my card slightly better, so here, have a fish. So what
bizarre.
I like about this, right, is that there's a lot of cards that they've done, a lot of cycles over the years that have had this kind of like push-pull in terms of, oh, you need to, like, I mean, obviously we have cards like Generous Gift, Beast Within, the whole, oh, I killed your thing, here, have something back in return. But I'm talking more like the Mastery cycle from Strixhaven, where you could pay a lower cost to get the same ability cheaper, but you had to give your opponent some benefit as well. And especially in a game like, in a format like Commander, that can have some real benefits. Like,
you would almost never not do it.
That's exactly. Well, that's the thing. In 4-player game, it doesn't matter if you give someone, like, the non-aggro player a tapped blue fish. Who gives a shit about that? Or even gifting a card sometimes, you can, like, rally with someone. So it's a nice malleable ability, and it shows very comprehensively the idea that all these little critters are just trying to work together.
Yeah. So this is on Mind Spiral, which is the 4 and a blue sorcery common. Gift a tapped fish is the top line ability. With the reminder text, you may promise an opponent, even the words describing the mechanic is so fucking twee.
Yeah.
You may promise an opponent a gift as you cast this spell. Not you may choose an opponent's gift them a tapped fish. Yeah. It's you may promise an opponent a gift like as you cast the spell. If you do, they create a tapped 1/1 blue fish creature token before its other effects. And then the main ability is target player draws 3 cards. If a gift was promised, not if you chose to give a gift or something.
Yeah.
Tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it, and then it reminds you what a stun counter is. It's not always a tap fish. That's just a really weird one.
You've got gift a food, gift a card, being the opponent draws a card. I don't think there are many other types. I can't think off the top of my head. I think they tried to limit like the gift so it kept it nice and concise. Also, power level wise, do you give a food, which is fairly like meh? Do you give a body, a fish? Yeah, it's tapped, but I mean that's pretty good. Or do you give someone a card? Like giving someone a card's pretty
good.
And
the cards affect scale with
exactly. Yeah. I mean, this is the antithesis of Famiridin, isn't it? The idea that they use words like in the reminder text that adding vernacular to the game, like promise an opponent, and if you promised a gift, like it feels overly. I don't want to say the word complicated. It seems like it's being too flavorful, almost.
Here's why it's different in my head, and it just comes down to, is this good or bad? And I know that sounds really abstract, but like, sometimes when and I know it's hard making films, man. I don't know if I could make a feature film, but when you watch a film and you think, so many people signed off on this,
so many people allowed this to happen.
It's they know it's awful.
Yeah.
They probably have data telling them how awful they put too much money into it and they've got to fucking send it. That you can have a film. That doesn't mean that all films are terrible. Like, a Batman film can be either great or a gigantic piece of shit. Do you know what I mean? Looking at you, Batman Returns. What's the one with George Clooney?
Yeah, Batman Returns. It's not Batman Forever, is it?
Batman Forever is Val Kilmer. Yeah, Batman and Robin.
That's
the George Clooney one.
Yeah.
And then you compare it to Batman Forever, right? With Val Kilmer. Very underrated. I'm going to... People are going to fucking disagree with me on that one. But like, so the gift attack, I know what you mean. It's like they're using very colloquial, very sort of like emotive words to describe something that only really complex game mechanics.
Also, something that only really works within these settings. Like, you wouldn't put gift. I mean, obviously, you could gift something. So this is the thing. You could use the gift mechanic in any other set, but the fact that the words within the reminder text is promise.
But it sets a tone for the set.
Yeah.
Whereas for Mirrodin, not only did they punctuate it, fucking idiots, what are you doing? But like, none of that set was like, the whole set was about struggle and about like it was a downbeat set for a reason. And what they wanted to be was like, rallying the Mirrodins.
It rang so hollow.
And it's like, dude, if I was one of the Mirrans and I heard someone next to me go, "For Mirrodin," I'd fucking trip him up. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I'd be like,
"Shut up!
Here you go, Elish. Fucking have this cunt first." Sorry, wow, I went in with the hard C there.
Wow,
so,
nice.
Apologies. But like, so there is a difference, and I think it's just quality, mate.
Yeah, I agree.
This is a quality mechanic,
and it doesn't rub wrong, right? It feels right, and it feels. When it first got printed, or first got revealed, I think a lot of people kind of had that moment of going, well, this is weird, I'm not sure if I like this. But then immediately went, actually, no, this is fine.
This is great.
Yeah, this is good. And again, gifting someone a fish is just...
it's just
have a fish! Have a fucking fish, mate.
I mean, there are some really shitty puns in this set. We'll get to
that. Oh, we'll get to that.
But like, again, I don't want people to think, I say this every time now, I don't want people to think I don't like fun. How I got the curmudgeonly roll out of our relationship, because you're far more fucking... Aggie than I am in real life.
Yeah, we aren't like this in like outside of the pod. It's very much role reverse.
But like, I threw you under the bus there for no reason. But like, I do like fun.
Yeah,
I like having fun and whimsy. This is fun.
It's just got to be delivered well, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I guess
good.
I guess there's like a sincerity check, right? Where I find the sincerity check on like an unset, like an unverse set, which I understand you don't. Like, this is a sincerity check that's really hard not to agree with.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there are people that don't like the aesthetic in general, like Little Critters, Wind in the Willows, things like that. It's not their jam.
Yeah.
And I completely get that. That's why we're going to do Duskmore next, where it's a completely different jam for other people.
Edgelord territory.
Yeah, right? So it's kind of nice to have this like little fanciful thing kind of sat there. Saying that, I'm going to segue. I guess not quite yet, because we need to do the rest of the mechanics. But I am actually going to segue. Fuck it. The season cycle using the poor currency. That for me is a step. No pun intended. A step too far.
I can see what you mean, yeah.
Because I get that they might not have found another way to express the mechanic in terms of, like, you get 5 value and you may choose numbers of, and it starts to feel very almost like D&D-esque.
Yeah.
This is way more cutesy and it makes it fit with the set more, but that's almost like, it feels very strange when you then play those cards outside of the set to have this really weird paw mechanic when half of your critters don't have paws. The birds don't have paws. The lizards don't have paws.
Do you know why that particular image of a paw was used?
I do not. I'm glad that there is a justification.
It was one of the runners to be the set symbol.
Oh, okay. So that's the thing. If it was the leaves, I think I'd be all right with it.
Here's my theory as to why this is a little bit a bit of pill to swallow, and it's much like energy. I think as soon as you introduce, and I'm not saying this is a new thing. They've done it in Magic for a long time. But I think it's a tricky thing to introduce new symbology and new iconography into the game as game mechanics. So you got things like poison counters or whatever, But I think you can track those things without necessarily calling to mind the Phyrexian symbol, for example. Energy is one that I think I was playing around Kaladesh.
Well, you don't get a symbol for poison counts, right? They just say the word poison counts. Yeah. They could have said paw points. Oh, paw points sounds
well,
that's worse. That's worse.
This is it. But yeah, you're right. The paw image itself is it's like Prince turning himself into a symbol.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why aren't you using a word? Why are you using a word?
Yeah,
and the thing is, it is succinct, and I did kind of immediately almost tore myself out of it as I was saying, because it does work within this set to kind of not feel and make it feel like it's not all super numbery, because it doesn't feel like little critters and numbers really should go together. It's like, no, don't worry about the little numbers, there's no math or anything, it's just cutie magic-y stuff. But again, take it out of the set, it is a little bit obtuse in a way. But anyway, back off the segue. Cutest mechanic ever printed? ?
Gift?
No, Offspring.
Oh, I did not. Oh.
Yeah, of course. I knew it. I knew one of them. You wouldn't be on board with. Well, that's what they claim, right? They claim it's the cutest mechanic they've ever printed.
Oh, I'm gonna out myself here a little bit.
You hate kids, I know.
The word Offspring makes me go a little bit sick.
What do you refer? Spawn.
I don't need them to make babies. Yeah. I'm all right, thank you.
What do you off the back of that? What do you think of the tokens? Obviously, you're trying to play into the look how fucking cute this little guy is.
So, explain the Offspring mechanic.
So when you can pay an additional cost when you cast the creature, and you get a 1/1 token copy of that creature. Yeah. Its mana cost is equal to the mana cost, but otherwise it is a 1/1, and then it has all of the same abilities. It's basically bring your kid to work today.
So it's embalmed. Or whatever they call it. In Amonkhet and Devastation, they had the tokens which were the creature, but
embalm. If you eternalize them or embalm them, yeah.
And obviously, this isn't quite. It's a different way around the mechanic. It's the same idea that you're token copying the thing.
Yeah, and you don't get you don't use the copy token, which you can. But every creature that has an Offspring mechanic tied to it has a specific token to go with it, which arbitrarily makes some of them really expensive and hard to get hold of. And they are all, from my side, utterly adorable. There are some that are so delightfully cute they genuinely made me squeal without involuntarily.
Here's my ick with it, is that it's for a set that is so concerned with being very whimsical. What they've used is quite a clinical scientific term.
Offspring, yeah.
Offspring, and I know they can't use kin.
Yeah,
they can't, because I'm sure they've done kinship. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess they probably went through family, all of them. Yeah,
I don't know. They probably did. They probably had this exact conversation. They just went, let's just call them Offspring.
Yeah,
but non-breeders like me, this is just the ick.
Yeah, I get you. I understand.
I don't need my magic cards making babies.
Yeah, I don't need kids. Because I don't need the cards and their kids.
If you've ever seen a baby mouse fresh out the fucking
they're
womb,
pretty ugly.
They are like little squishy bloody jelly beans.
But the Kid Prosperous Bandit looks like Gromit with his little eyes poking out. He's going down a little box, Andy. Mechanically wise, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I don't mind.
I really like this idea of, I feel like we live in a world where we're constantly trying to make tokens of our own creatures, and they just went, we'll do the work for you. Fuck it. You know?
Yeah.
I also think it's kind of funny now, as a side thing, into like the commander, I can't remember what his name is, the bard, the crane, which apparently I think is from Tarkir. I think they give a hint that he was originally from Tarkir. But the crane commander that gives all of your creatures offspring.
Oh, I didn't know that was his
backstory. Is he just playing music to get you horny? Because all of your creatures then gain offspring when he's around, so he's just like... Is he like Barry White?
No, he's seducing everyone.
Is he the stork that brings the babies, but he's actually giving you the babies?
That are made with him are little baby
storks.
Oh
god, so it's like a Pied Piper thing, but also a sex thing.
No, it's just like, you know how, like, rock stars are sexy.
Want to play on my fleet, I don't know.
She throws her little, macrame bra into the stage.
There's her leaf twined.
Yeah.
Dignity thrown in.
Mrs. Bumbleflower. Because I guess Ms. Bumbleflower throws her crochet panties onto the.
This is a question, right? As well as like animal critters that otherwise don't have humanistic, nakedness, nudity, or whatever, and then how much they wear or don't wear. Like that kind of. I'm not going to get into it, but. Obviously, it's interesting to see.
Sounds like you thought about it.
Well, no, like I've just as you were randomly talking about taking Bumbleflower's clothes off, I'm like, do they need the clothes? Is like what are they like? Obviously, we want them to feel humanized, right? We want them to feel like they have craft. You've got fucking seamstresses. You've got tailors. You've probably got you've got. Well, we'll get to the talents.
Well, how many clothes do we wear?
Exactly. But why would they need to when they've also got fur? Is always the question, right?
I don't know, man. Maybe
it's not
really
armor.
cold.
They don't need armor. Like,
Some
there's
have
not.
armor,
I mean, not a lot of them. And if they do, it's usually like made out of bark or whatever.
I I don't know.
Anyway, we're getting off track. Valiant. This is now one. We're now just getting into. So there are 10 tribes 10 types, critter types.
Yeah, type.
In the set, each of them taking a different 2-color kind of combination. So otters being blue and red, whereas rats are, for example, are blue and black. And then you get a few offcuts. You get like a skunk, a random weasel, things like that.
If you look at like even the World Planeswalkers guides, or if you look at any of the websites that kind of provide what's in the set, it's not just like the main animals. There's loads that are kind of tangential, but they can't just do one of everyone.
Yeah, you can't. It's funny because I don't think it's overcrowded. Because originally I thought, they only did 5, and I'm like, oh, actually they did 10, and all of them fit in quite nicely. And then there's a few extras on the side, which I don't mind either.
I just think, again, this is what happens when you have a well-realised top-to-bottom world that actually has its own identity.
Yeah, and it's very well balanced. So Valiant being the mouse mechanic, and this is if you were to target the creature with a spell or ability for the first time in a turn, something happens. They also kind of sidle into the Boris equipment side thing. I'm building a Mabel deck, converting a wider deck, and the idea will be that you obviously try and equip 0-cost equipment to all of the different mice to trigger their Valiant thing going on.
And this is what I like
it's
about
like
this
heroic,
concept.
but not just spell. You can also use ability.
But it keys exactly into the magic of the plane.
Mm-hmm.
They've tried this before sometimes, and it doesn't always quite work. If you remember, what was the one from OG Eldraine with the colours? You had to have a certain amount of pits.
Adamant.
Thank you. Because they're trying to show like that the different castles and different realms were like so
stronger if they were
stronger together, and like
bound to
they
their
had like a
ley
way
line
of life
and
that worked.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work as a mechanic, but this really works because it's the idea that all of these mechanics, like Gift, like Valiant, they have some sort of quote unquote drawback. But it's because the magic of Valley is a redux version of what their true natures could be if they went all batshit.
If they allowed everything to grow and flourish and
they become like the cosmic
ubermensch.
beasts, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
So I like it. I like that they've thought about it.
And I like this idea that all you've got to do is target your little mouse with some love or some ability, and it gets all hyped up, ready for and empowered. Like there's so many artworks in this set of mice just going, "Ah!" It's like, yes, you little squeaker.
Yeah,
go for it.
The mice are really quite violent.
Yeah,
in this
but
set,
mice
aren't
are quite violent. like in general, like if they swarm, oh my god, if they swarm.
like all the otters are just playing fucking
they're
volleyball
chill,
or
man.
whatever.
They're just chilling out there over being little chads. And then you've also got Forage. This is a squirrel, the squirrel mechanic, and this is that you, to forage, you either exile 3 cards from your graveyard or sacrifice a food. Now, the thing I really like about this is it's multiple mechanical synergies, not just within the set, in terms of you've got your graveyard mechanics, and it can play against that, and you've also got your food making mechanics you can play with that. But in general, for things like Commander, this mechanic can be used in multiple different directions. If you want to play things going in and out of your graveyard, or if you're playing a token theme, you can kind of use all these cards and have a bit of modality to it. It isn't parasitic. It is broad enough in the 2 different directions you can go that it can be played in multiple directions while still feeling mechanically synergistic. The idea of eating food whilst also mulching stuff out of your graveyard both feel very similar. It doesn't rub the wrong way like some mechanics I feel like in past sets have. It feels cohesive. Speaking of raccoons. Fucking raccoons. I'm slowly but surely falling in love with raccoons. I played a game with Radagast the other day, and I had raccoon on turn 2, and throughout the entire game he survived, so whenever I was checking the creature types, it always included a raccoon.
That Radagast, I built my the infamous Crawlclaw deck, and I'm feeling some of the Radagast love with your pick a creature type. There's only one of those, so I'm fucking gonna win. I've got the card Cover of Darkness. Which is pick a creature type, those creatures get fear, and it's all the creatures on the board. And Crawlclaw is a weasel, and there are only 2 weasels of magic, and the other one's like a common. So it's fair play if you're playing that one, but only fucking Crawlclaw gets a global effect, but only Crawlclaw is going to get the fear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Nice.
Bit of tech there for your fucking Crawl. It's not on EDH rec or any of that shit.
Especially when you're trying to get it through unblockable. Yeah, exactly.
I should load up my decks tomorrow.
You're a pioneer.
I should. I think I am.
So raccoons, they're the barterers, the tradesmen, the teapot slingers apparently. And what I like about their mechanic expend is that when you expend a certain amount of mana in a turn, in combination, it doesn't have to be in one go. It can be a total amount. You get an additional effect or something happens. And what I like about this is that if you trade enough with the raccoons, there's a benefit to it. I like they're barterers who want to trade in mana and value, and then when you do trade with them, you get something back for it.
Aww.
Which is quite cute.
That's very cute.
And again, it's like this idea. I like the idea of that green and red typically wants to be playing big spells every turn, going stompy stompy. And as much as the big stompy stompy in the set isn't. You're not getting 4 mana 4/4s as readily as you would in other sets, or even above curve. But even just by expending that much mana and at least playing the 4-drop, your other lower drops or even other 4-drops then get bigger. They want you to keep doing this big stompy, play big stuff. And I like it. I like it. It's nice. They are all the new mechanics: Gift, Offspring, Valiant, Forage, and Expend. They're not the only ones in the set, though. There's also Prowess on the Otters, Threshold for the Rats, a little bit of Threshold. I'm not going to lie, I find Threshold a little bit meh. I feel like it's nice to have a callback one, but I feel like 7 cards in your graveyard is quite a lot. So a lot of the time the Threshold is, late game stuff, and it is cool, but something about it just never kind of felt... It never felt powerful enough or I don't know, mechanically evocative enough for me. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why, but I look at it and I go, yeah, cool, whatever. And then obviously you got some normal evergreen things like, Ward and Scry and stuff in the set. Your normal bullshit. None of the other critter types have a keyworded ability.
Which, thank fuck, to be honest with
you.
Yeah,
because you don't need another Ravnica where you've got 10 different abilities all competing, and it's all very wordy and stuff.
Everything's very wordy, so I appreciate the restraint. Again, they probably sensed the balance was better off without it, so...
So we've talked about the critters a lot. Calamity Beasts. So we've got a Mythic Cycle, and then we've got a few others as well.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Just from an optics point of view of, like, the flavour of the plane... Like, the Calamity Beasts are meant to be this kind of world-disrupting force. So making them a mythic cycle, or maybe, a rare cycle, maybe that was kind of obviously a cycle, was fine. But to kind of throw in other ones just here and there.
Yeah.
Just to see, okay, so maybe there's lesser ones, which sort of makes sense, I guess.
That's the idea, right? Is that there are greater and lesser calamities based on, like, what they do. I feel like, from a critter point of view, having a bit of smog isn't so bad as it's funny because the links, I'm going to talk about the links in a little bit, but like the one with the molten sun on its back isn't somehow as bad as, hey, this new dragon that brings storms,
Yeah, interesting.
But again, there's also, they're not all necessarily evil. I mean, I say that they're not necessarily evil. None of them are, ostensibly evil. They're all just like forces of nature. You do have things like Beza, the Bounding Spring, and Mayha, as much as it is creating nighttime and got really pissed off, did have a baby stolen.
Yeah.
So, fair dues. I'd be pretty pissed off as well. But I don't know if, like, say, Lumra, for example, apart from being a bear that would eat you, is necessarily a bad thing when it brings about, all the lands coming back.
That is really I think, slightly underplayed, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we're always complaining that people are spoon-feeding Magic audiences a bit too hard, but that is the slightly understated thing about the Calamity Beasts, is that the perspective of the tiny, somewhat defenseless, like, creatures of Bloomburrow is that they're these horrible, world-ending threats, and then with a bit of perspective, people like Raoul come in and they go, "Well, it's just it's normal shit. That's normal shit. Like
that's just a fucking deer, mate,
dude. It's an owl that brings the nighttime. Chill out,
relax." Yeah, which I guess is why something like, say, Dragonhawk coming in, obviously being like an off-world giant threat that they mistake to be a Calamity Beast because it isn't per se.
Yeah,
it's quite cool. Because again, it's all about perception. It's not the matter of is it a Calamity Beast. It's that the plane considers it to be a Calamity Beast. Mm-hmm. That's why it's not named Colligan, even though it's fairly obvious if it's not at least a very high up, member of her brood. It's not the Dragon Lord herself, which I'm pretty sure it is. But we don't see it as that because we're seeing it through the plane's point of view, which is calling it Dragonhawk. So I don't know. I mean, they all do really, really cool things. I like the fact that the one for Bees of the Bounding Spring, the idea is like you're coming out of winter or your resources are diminished, so you if you're behind, which you would be if you were in the winter, you get treasure and life and fish and drawing cards and that kind of stuff, all based on whether or not you've got less resources than your opponent. But I like that idea of coming from winter into spring as this blossoming effect.
Yeah.
You got Eluge, the Shoreless Sea, which apparent toughness is equal to the islands in play, and then whenever it attacks or comes into play, another thing gets turned into an island, like the swelling of the wave happens, and then for each island. With each land with a flood counter on it, which would be all of the ones that you turn into islands, the idea is that your magic gets cheaper and then therefore stronger. The idea of like for little critters, a big ass tsunami, that's pretty fucking scary.
Yeah,
it's pretty fucking scary. I like the fact that Mayha just kind of completely changes your opponent's like board. Like it comes into play and suddenly the season changes into like, you're in nighttime and everything's like really defenseless because all their toughnesses get turned to 1.
What is it about black as a player that plays a black kill?
Also, that's really good in Kiku.
Yeah, I'm not playing it in Kiku.
Okay,
because like as someone who plays a mono black kill all your shit deck for my benefit, this has caused a real stink in EDH as like it's another tox thrill. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think it's that
people
bad.
really hate just going no creatures for you.
Yeah, but black's literally the colour of destruction and like you can sight-rift someone and they go sure, fine, whatever, but having everything in play on the brink of death, and yeah, I know you combine this with pestilence or any number of things that just deals 1 damage to every creature.
I run pestilence and
yeah, of course, but that's fine. At that point, you just remove the creature. So the thing that pisses me off is that when people get annoyed about their stuff being removed by stuff that you can remove, it's like, then play more removal.
Yeah, I think it's this is maybe I get salty about individual cards, right? Yeah. And a lot of the time, it is just the case of going, all this card is really doing is it's stopping you from doing a very niche thing that because you like doing that thing.
Yeah. Or you've built your deck to do it. You feel like
you feel targeted.
Yeah.
Creatures are so ubiquitous because even if they're not like, maybe you're not attacking with creatures, especially in EDH, I actually think this is an erroneous argument, but one of the consensus is
people
that
hold back too much.
People hold back. Yeah. Bullshit. You ever play Gruul? You fucking
I'm always turning sideways.
Yeah. If you're not attacking, then that's on you, buddy. Like build your decks better. But like because it shuts down creatures just point blank. But then no one gives a fucking shit when like you have mass artifact removal. No one's getting pissy at Vandal Blast.
The thing is, like, I guess the thing that is funny is that like you could just play Damnation for 1 cheaper, right? And it's like. You're not even removing them per se. Again, the combinations or whatever. But again, I just don't think it's enough to warrant being that pissed off about.
But then get rid of my
and then I have
indestructible Eldrazi.
And I have to discard a card to I have to discard a card to target it. I don't know.
As someone who play, I mean, everyone's got a fucking mono black deck if they've been playing long enough. You start to realise. So my Kiku deck is specifically because I like angle shooting with themes because. I'm not good at building magic decks, so I hide
Johnny. You like seeing the cogs turn and the machine do the thing.
My Kiku deck is specifically a necromancy reanimate your shit deck, right? So I have to kill your shit and then necromancy out of your graveyard. I don't actually have any of those effects. There's lots of them that take stuff out of your own graveyard. I don't do any of that bollocks. It's all about everyone else's graveyards. It's not really a reanimator deck in the truest sense. But as soon as I go up against, say, 2 out of 3 opponents on a board that are going on creature-light strategies, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
So
you're relying on your opponent to play into your game plan.
So this is all to say, stop bitching about this fucking cool-ass card.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got a couple of like outliers. So Igra, Eater of All. I like the fact that Eater of All turns everything into foods. Yeah. Other creatures are food artifacts in addition. Like, awesome. Fantastic. And whenever any food is put into the graveyard, put 2+1/+1 counters on it. And then to target it, you have to sacrifice a food. I mean, it's Eater of All, and it makes everything edible. Yeah. Like, that's perfect flavour. Yeah. That's insane. And then you've got a couple of others. You have the Rotten Mouth Viper, which you can sacrifice stuff when you cast it to make it cheaper. And then when it enters the battlefield or attacks, you put a blight counter on it. And for each blight counter on an opponent, your opponent has to pay 4 life, sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. It's the torment kind of effect. Yeah, pretty strong. I like that. It's very, very cool. I like the fact that this is very clearly a lesser calamity, but because the power effect is so high, it's still a mythic. Yeah. But it feels like it doesn't need its own title. You know, it is just, man, snakes are real scary, and this one's real big and real poisonous.
Snakes are real scary.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And when you're a mouse, fuck yeah. And then the other one that I wanted to talk about because it's kind of funny, Sunspine Lynx just doesn't look like it's having a good time. Like, I mean, tell me that's comfortable.
The art is a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, like, how are you supposed to move like that? And I don't think the alternate artwork makes it look any more comfortable. Like, you've got a sun in your spine. Yeah. You could run away from that very easily. Its feet shouldn't be able to do it. It's in its spine. Anyway. I feel like that is only pushed down as not being one of the greater calamities because Dragon legendary hawk thing needed it. Yeah. It's got sun in its spine.
You got a new laptop?
No, this is Isla's iPad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where's your laptop?
in my room, not very well. I need to buy a new one.
Oh,
I know. It's alright. I need to buy a new one
anyway.
Older
than my one.
Well, I need to buy a new one for DJ purposes. It's very old and it's very tired. Bless it. Should we start talking about some terrible puns before we get to some artwork?
Yeah.
Because there are a lot.
There's a lot. I've picked out the 2 that I find the most egregious, but I also have a couple which I think are just fine.
Right, I agree. I have a couple that I'm like, this is fantastic. I have a couple that I'm like, for fuck's sake.
Well, should we just get Crumb and Get It out of the way?
Yeah. Right, Crumb and Get It. It doesn't even make sense. You gift a food. Does it lure them in? Like, it feels so forced. I mean, like,
this artwork is
it's weird. It's like a biscuit. She's holding like a weird biscuit.
I was about to make a pun by saying it's batshit. So the Crumb and Get It artwork is one of the bat folk with a baguette or some sort of like
roll.
It's like a phyllo roll.
Yeah,
and it's attacking a wolfear calamity beast.
And you get a +2/+2, and if you gifted indestructible,
gift of food. And then target creature you control gets +2/+2 till end of turn. If a gift was promised, that creature also gains indestructible until end of turn.
I nearly put it in a deck, and I was like, I can't do it.
So you give the other person the food because it's almost like you're attacking them with it.
Are you distracting them with it? But then why does that make you stronger?
Here's some bread. I'm gonna hit you really fucking hard.
Makes me indestructible.
It's clunky.
It's that's the thing.
Also it's a terrible pun.
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
the thing.
Thing is though, it's not even like the best. It's so ham-fisted.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, I'm right there with you, buddy.
And it's not. I think there are two kinds of puns that for me work, and it's either if the pun itself is its own phrase but it's almost like the word has a double meaning.
Yeah. The double entendre.
It's not just like a word they've used a different word that rhymes, or if they do like some of the ones in this set, like Night Fisher.
Yeah, instead of Kingfisher.
Yeah. It's not like a rhyming word.
No.
It's a different word with a connotation, knights, kings, that works for the purpose of what it is, which is a bird knight that happens to be a bird that's in the facet of a kingfisher. Like, it works on multiple levels. Crumb and Get It works on one level, and that's
it rolls off the tongue and it sounds nice.
I was in a rush to get a card name in, and for some reason, this artist Justina Jura. It's a well rendered artwork. It's just very bizarre.
Yeah. Well, in a similar vein, Carrot Cake in a plane where we know that you can bake actual cakes is just carrots with leaves. Like, you could literally make
the artwork
a carrot cake.
They just smush two carrots together over some frosting.
And it's like I get the subversion.
Do the other animals other than the rabbit folk like this?
I don't think so.
No.
But the thing is, you can also actually just make a carrot cake in this world because we know there are bakers. So that's what that gets me. Because I'm like, that just doesn't.
Well, they make strawberry cake.
Yeah, that feels like a forced joke from an artwork from within the set kind of point of view, rather than rather than being a silly play on words. Cash grab, I'm okay with ish.
Cash grab is only fine because that is a phrase.
And the thing is, there is no such thing as cash money in that plane, but there is such thing as a cache of acorns, which I think that works.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a pun, but it kind of plays on me when you just use normal phrases on cards. And gentle shove, I'm like,
was a bit like pipe. Isn't it?
For me, noggin whack from Lorwyn was a great one because it was a kid thing getting twacked in the back of the head from a fish.
But the thing is though, do you know how that works? That works because the word noggin is evocative of the fucking goblins in that world.
Yeah, and it worked. But again, I don't mind gentle shove because when you see it, the idea is like it's when someone plays a joke. But then the problem with it is that just as a random phrase, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make any sense on the card. Which I think basically draws you a card and gives a slight bonus. And the idea is that they're telling a joke or something. Instead of like being a gentle shove of encouragement, it's more a gentle shove because it means slaps on the back from a joke. And it just doesn't work with what the card's doing.
Tragic slip, it is not.
No, exactly. You got things like take out the trash. Cool, because we've got trash pandas in the set, I guess. Cool. Probably the worst offender is Bark Knuckle Boxer instead of Bare Knuckle Boxer. And the flavour text is, may your bark be worse than your bite.
So it's 2 puns.
It real doubles down on the bark, yeah. I don't hate it, but it's just a little bit...
Bark Knuckle Boxer I don't mind so much, if only because you can imagine them rubbing the bark as wraps around their hands. Mm-hmm. It would be worse if it was a tree folk.
Right, yeah, no, that's way...
And you'd
actually,
be like,
that's way better.
No.
I like that way.
No, because that's like... when you say bare knuckle boxer, you don't say skin knuckle boxer.
Because technically it is still bare knuckle, even though it's made out of bark.
Maybe it is better, but I hate it more.
Yeah, no, I get you. And then my last one is Balin the Haymaker, because he both makes hay and he's also haymaker.
Oh, well, no, that's fine.
Balin,
I like that.
Like all of it.
I like it. Because also, that's a really cool card.
Yeah.
As well. It gets... sometimes, if the card is cool, you
get away with it.
You get away with it.
Yeah, because I don't think any of his particular abilities made me feel like he's going to throw a haymaker at you, but I like the idea he's a haymaker, and then as a card, he's like a fucking mechanical haymaker.
Well, because all of the characters. There's very few characters or roles because they're not incredibly militaristic. A lot of their fighting
being a soldier
prowess,
is kind of like a really weird thing to be.
It's like a traditional thing of like, we remember the time when we needed to have a militia, so like we have swords in the family and we kind of practice archery. But like, what's his name? Phineas, the rabbit folk. He's an archer, but he goes, no, I'm a farmer. I'm really good at archery.
Yeah, he just does it for sport. Yeah.
So to have like Balin be a haymaker. And it's like, oh, there's climbing beast over there. Let me get my fucking scythe out and go to town. Like, yeah,
bust out.
Go for it, dude.
Cool. There's two other little cycles I think we should touch on. The duo cycle epitomizes this cutesy critters really like getting along. Critters of different species kind of just working together. You've got things like the glide dive duo where the bat and the lizard folk. The lizard folk's got a cape kind of like parachuting down.
I love it. I love it so much.
Catch the thermal, called the bat. What's a thermal? Cried the lizard. Like, it's just cute, fucking automatic niceness. The best one, however, Bravekin duo. It's the rabbit mouse.
It's my first flavour pick.
Really?
It's like individual card
It's
pick,
so sick. One tap, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Fuck that, doesn't even matter. Did you bring everything you need for the journey? The rabbit asked. Of course I did. I brought you, my dear pinecone, the mouse replied.
So if you want to know what Bloomburrow is as a set...
Oh, it's that!
Just take that flavour text.
Oh my god!
It's
darling!
good.
It's darling! Oh my god.
It's so good. The Delvin Plattis artwork is also very sweet.
There's a few really cute, like, flatter, kind of just taken out of a kid's book kind of artworks that I think are absolutely... We'll get into artwork in a moment. The other cycle I think we should talk about is we've got another class cycle listed instead of being classes per se from like D&D. These are different jobs,
talents.
I mean, because I think some of them I would class as being like a bit more than a talent. I would say it's like, you know, like I guess job's the wrong word, but like a profession, like being.
But I think
an artist or being.
I think what the talent
blacksmith
refers to is the abilities on the card are the talents you need to be a good.
Oh, I see. Right, yeah. Because, again, you've got things like... Because I say there is blacksmiths on one hand, but then there's also gossip's talent on the other hand. And like, what does it take to be a good gossip?
So these are the level up... They're sagas with level up. Oh, no,
they are literally the same system that the D&D classes use. Yeah. And there's two cycles of them, one rare, one uncommon, and they're all delightful. The only thing that irks me is... At the bottom of all of the artworks, because obviously they're... spaced out like a saga would be, you know, with a vertical artwork, is they all have this tiny little symbol at the bottom of the artwork to denote like what that particular talent, like, you know, refers or the tool of it. One of them doesn't have it.
No.
Yeah,
what?
exactly. One doesn't have it. The hunter's talent. There's nothing underneath it. There's an obvious space where it should be. Oh, I fucked it. A moment. Oh no. Did I do it quickly enough? There we go. See, you've got like.
A thing.
Dun. Nothing.
Oh.
The only one out of all of them. It doesn't have one. And it's literally got a bow and arrow in his hand, but I think they use bow and arrow for a different one anyway. But
that's really strange.
It's really strange, isn't it? It's very annoying. But other than that, I think it's really, really cute.
The caretaker's talent is one of the sweetest artworks in the set.
Oh, I know. The little rat. And he's holding a little bat in one hand.
Little bat folk.
And then he's got a little mouse on the other side. Oh no, my it died. Okay, cool, that's fine. We'll use phone. It really couldn't handle me scrolling that quickly, apparently.
It was like, oh no, the frame rate.
So that's kind of like all of my... I mean, I'm sure do you have any other individual flavour picks?
Yeah, I mean, I do a few. I mean, we spoke about that one. Wishing Well.
Yeah, I like that.
How have we not had Wishing Well as a card?
What was the well from Eldraine called? Witching Well. So they went for the pun, and then in this set they can just go, fuck the pun, we can actually just have a straight up
What a card as well. Like, so 3 and a blue, tap, put a coin counter on Wishing Well. When you do, you may cast target instant sorcery card with mana value equal to the number of coin counters on Wishing Well from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile instead, activate it as sorcery. So the more coins you put in, the greater the wish can be.
Yeah, which is very cute.
Fucking great.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Stephen Ballard artwork on point as well. But just, I mean, I love those cards that they put in sets where that could be in any set in Magic.
Mm-hmm.
But they put it here and it works.
It works really well. Yeah. Okay. Oh man, there's so many good artworks.
Oh, there's a.
So I want to talk quickly about Stargaze.
Serena Malon has 2 artworks in this set. I think it's only 2. This and For the Common Good.
Yeah, they're both delightful.
Is on fire.
The light effect that she can do is stunning. In the eyes of... So the idea is obviously... it's what the Batfolk do. They gaze to the stars and like divine things. Mm-hmm. And what I really like in this set is that you have multiple forms of bat. You've got like the pistol kind of bats with like the weird kind of like upturned noses. And then this is very clearly like a fruit bat.
Yeah.
It's almost like this very dog-like kind of snout, which is... delightful. The idea of snuggling up to a fruit bat, so cute. And it's stunning artwork. And as you say, for the greater good also, and also another pun on for the great. What did you say? Is it not the greater good? No, it's different. It's not. It's common good. Yeah, see, that's the pun there as well. But again, this kind of flourishing bevy of like hummingbirds and plant life and everything coming off of this little rabbit folk. Despite their differences, every creature and culture in Valley stood in unison against the threat.
Yeah.
If that's not synonymous of the entire set, I don't know what is.
I actually did pick up the alt art for this one, not because I don't like the Serena Malon artwork, but the alt art is like very. Like, it's very pleasing. It's got kind of chalk white and green as its kind of colour palette. And I was like, that looks sick. But yeah, it's a great card.
Yeah, but to be fair, there are so many cards I've looked at the artwork and I'm like, cool, I don't need to know what it does. So when I read it, I'm like, well, that's really strong. I didn't realise it was actually a good card.
There is a bit of a problem in this set where the artwork is so distinctive to Bloomburrow that when you slot it into decks that are quite visually cohesive, just naturally because of
it stands out quite
So
a lot.
I have an Onyxia or Anyxia deck, which is my Asban Enchantress deck, which used to be a Scythis deck, which used to be a Karametra deck. So very strong Theros flavours, and a lot of enchantment synergies are Theros based. And then you have this dark underworld demigod warrior woman and all of her enchantments, and then Caretaker's Talent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For the common good.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit.
You kind of just, you have to kind of...
I love it.
You have to suspend your disbelief a little bit further, right? With Omen Pass, it all makes sense though, right? Because again, there is literally... We spoke about it before, about the Forager, I think it was called, or whatever it was, from Murders of Karlov Manor, with the mouse folk, the mole folk who was coming out of the thing. There is quite literally a mole who looks almost exactly identical to it. I mean, yeah, people can just draw moles the same way, but it does make me feel like,
I think it was Bloomburrow.
And obviously,
well, no, it can't be from Bloomburrow, because I still want to live in a world where the Bloomburrow folk become human.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we don't know, do we? Well, magic metaphysics that we're never going to fucking actually get answers to, right? Like, come on.
I'm sorry.
It's one of these things like, I just love them to just actually just tell us. Just give us, like...
I have a real theory about one of these things. So, you know how Dragonhawk is Colligan?
Yes.
And
or presumably.
The Otter is Ral and whatever else.
Yeah.
Is there a named character in Bloomburrow that is actually a character we already know, but masquerading as a furry version of themselves?
Oh,
is like
true.
The infamous Cruel Claw going to turn out to be like...
That's the obvious one of someone that you would consider to be...
Like, turns out to be fucking Karavek or something.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get what you mean. The thing is, because we saw such a small slice of the world in terms of, like, it was so low to the ground and there wasn't a lot of...
Is King Glarb Tassiger?
No, Tassiger's dead. Tassiger's a necklace.
Wow.
Tassiger lived thousands of years ago.
We're about to go back to Tarkir.
I know what you mean. I am looking now at the other legends and thinking, are any of them potentially...
I just think it would be a massive twist if, like, we sort of see, like, as the prologue to, like, a set in about a year's time.
And it turns out...
Cruel Claw stepped through the Omen Path and fucking, you know...
It was Tezzeret.
Tezzeret steps out, you know, whatever. Yeah,
no, I get you. It's a good thing you could hide, like, within the set. I don't feel like they've planted it, unfortunately. Like, there's nothing that seems like it stands out enough, and I feel like they're not very good at the subtle wink, wink, nudge, nudge anymore.
Cruel Claw is Emrakul.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I feel
everyone's Emrakul.
They're way too on the nose with things these days. I feel like to be too subtle about it.
Here's a card in the set that is a bit conspiracy theory for me. Sinister Monolith.
Yeah, you're going to bring up Nahiri, aren't you? Because it looks like a cryptolith.
Oh, that? Yeah, so yes, it did make me think of the cryptoliths, but also it looks a little bit like Elish Norn's crown.
True. Then it also kind of looks a little bit like a chroma.
Blood and brine makes strong mortar. That's a fairly hardcore.
That is really hardcore, yeah. And I guess you could tie it to the squirrel folk, which I guess are like the quote unquote bad. But
why would they do masonry like this? It looks like it's from another plane.
Yeah, exactly. It does look like it's not of Bloomburrow.
Are they Fomori horns?
Are they Fomori horns? I doubt it.
Oh, for fuck's sake! You're not the only one that can have theories, man.
I know. I'm not saying. Hey, look. I doubt most of my theories. Okay.
Oh, I'm Nathan. I read Reddit, and therefore I know everything that's going on.
Wow.
Ruthless Negotiation. I want to talk about this card.
Good.
1 and a black. Well, not 1 and a black. 1 black. Ruthless Negotiation. Sorcery. Target opponent exiles a card from their hand. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, draw a card. Why does it have that bit of text? Because it has flashback for 5. The flavour text is, next time you come this way, do us both a favour and have something worth stealing, yeah? And it has Cruel Claw holding up a raccoon. This is a Rhonda Libby artwork that is so bizarre.
So weird. It's like a stained glass window.
Yeah, it's very flat. I love it. It pops out. But
it reminds me of Monty Python.
It does a bit, yes.
Yeah.
The whole card is 90% perfect. So the idea is that Cruel Claw is holding this person up. They haven't quite got what they wanted. Mm-hmm. So next time they come through, it's like a joke. He's going, look, I'm going to rob you again. Yeah. So just make sure that you have something here. Mm-hmm. So the flashback...
And the fact you draw a card when he does it means he does get more out of it the second time.
The flashback is he does it a second time. So the only thing that's a bit like, is the fact that you're not actually stealing anything out of their hand. You're exiling something.
Yeah, you're getting rid of it, and I guess you're gaining a value the second time around, but not of theirs.
Yeah, so that's why it's only just not a perfect card, but it's still damn close.
Well, he has literally another card in the set that's the same idea, right? Where it's
Cruel Claw's Heist.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's black, and you exile a card from target player's hand, and if you gifted them a card or gift any, that's the other thing is you can gift any opponent. Good job, buddy. Well done. You got there fast. If you can gift anyone a card, it doesn't have to be the person you target. And the idea is that if you gift the card, you can then cast it using mana of any mana value as long as it's exiled, which I think I'm probably going to put into Satoru at some point because I like playing other people's shit. And I do like the fact that Cruel Claw is just still shit. It's weird because his card doesn't actually do anything like that. He does something completely different.
The Cruel Claw is actually another flavour pick of mine, just through virtue of playing it. The thing that the reason I wanted to build the deck was A, because I like the abilities. It was kind of a cascadey exile thing, which I haven't personally played with a lot, except for I got gifted a Cody deck in our last Christmas kind of EDH Secret Santa. So the idea of randomly flipping into something and having to play that effect, because it does, that's what Cody does, and it's a polymorph deck as well. And so I took that idea and was like, okay, let's make it maybe a bit more targeted, and this was the thing. So I've got an Infamous Cruel Claw, big mana sorceries instance deck, a spells deck. I know spells is colloquial for everything, but it's not creatures like some people have been doing.
Yeah, it's a spell slinger deck.
Spell slinger deck, there you go. But I love the artwork, the Christina Kraus artwork, who she was at Amsterdam as well, but this set hadn't quite released. And it looks like they're a complete swashbuckler with fireworks going off in the background.
Yeah, it gives me Three Musketeers vibes, it's Mask of Zorro.
As much as I don't love it, and I know people are going to fucking at me about this, but the Princess Bride is that
it's so Princess Bride, yeah.
And that's why I kind of thought Cruel Claw was going to be like an anti-hero rather than like a full-out villain. Because the big splashy effect of this card is that you're meant to flip something horrendously over the top off of the effect.
Really. So a big flourish kind of thing.
So Cruel Claw is arriving in this flurry of fireworks, just being, hey, I'm going to steal your shit. Cruel Claw's a fucking man.
Early Winter, 4 and a black, instant, choose one, exile target creature, target opponent exiles an enchantment they control. Artwork by Andrew Marr, and it's it's the most devastating little mouse trying its hardest with a firefly lantern stick thing of where the light at the end of its stick is a fucking firefly.
Yeah.
The climate changed and the world suffered.
Badass.
And it looks like, impending doom. It's fantastic, big fan, and it's just the common removal spell. You get to sit it within your hand until turn 5, and you get to do something cool with it.
Yeah,
so good.
Very
big
nice
fan.
one.
Big fan.
How do you say this card name?
Wick the World's Mind.
What the fuck is world?
Weirdly enough, my next favourite pick is Psychic Whirl, which is also in the same set.
Right.
So the idea is, I guess, a whirl is like a spiral of some kind. It's like the kind of effect that you get on a snail shell.
But you do spell the word whirl with a WH, don't you? Because in my head it's a horse
Whirl,
sound.
yeah.
Or like hole, or I don't know.
Pattern of spirals or concentric circles, a small wheel or pulley in a spinning machine or spindle.
And he's got a big snail shell.
Yeah, because he's a snail boy. It's a rat commander that has nothing to do with rats.
Thank God.
And how many snails are there in Magic, Andy?
4.
None. Literally none. I think that might...
it's a Grixis.
Uh-huh.
It's a Grixis colour identity.
I'm pretty sure there are 0. Yep, art. You have 18 cards with snails in their artwork, but none with a snail creature type.
Completely self, referencing. That's
or,
wild.
you know what you can play in the deck? A bunch of changelings.
Oh, I fucking hate that. I hate it so much. If I had to wave my magic wand over magic, that'd be the first thing to go. Not unsets.
Mine would be all 2-mana commanders.
Ah, well, you'd be fucking yourself, wouldn't you?
No, I've only got one.
Not Ailey.
No, the Bartolome.
Oh yeah, one of your new
Presidio.
ones.
Yeah.
And you've got a 1-mana commander.
I do.
You fucking poser.
Had to have it. Hey, look, I'm not posing. If Aaron Hansen gifted me a pack that had a Tameo in it.
So sick of hearing about Aaron Hansen.
I think,
I'm glad you got to meet one of your magic heroes, or like one of your geekdom heroes.
Well, okay. Should we talk some alternate artwork treatments? Because before that, full art lands.
Yes.
All 5 of the different land types have all 4 seasons for 20 different full art. The only thing that annoys me about having 20 different ones is that it's much harder to have a consistent... Like, there's way more of them out, but there's way less of each individual one.
Yeah.
So if you want to buy 15 or 16 of one specific one, it's a lot harder than if there'd only been, 10 different ones.
I do like that they kept the same artist for each rotation of them. So all of the planes are done by Carlos Palma Cruchaga. All of the islands are Rob Ray. All of the swamps are John Thacker. All of the mountains are Andrew Theophilopoulos. And all of the forests are David Robert Hovey. Thank you. And I like that for consistency.
Yeah, it does create this through line. And when you have them side by side, it does look great.
How do you feel about having another cycle of lands with a figure in them, like a?
Again, I think it grounds. So the thing about lands is that they feel very nebulous sometimes. Like, the thing that kind of I liked about having random Jace in Ixalan is it kind of gives a scale, for one, which is really nice, and it makes the world feel lived in. And, so the thing about basics is because they usually don't have anything within them, they do feel, for lack of a better word, basic.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like any of the other lands that are in the set, like all the different villages and stuff like that, which have, buildings and things like that are more, interesting than here's just a bunch of trees. And it can be like that, certain artists, like, say, John Avon can do sunset coming through the trees and make it look crazy good. But if you don't have the world feel like there is stuff within it, it does just kind of your eyes glaze over and you don't really want to engage. It doesn't capture you. It doesn't enthrall you. And the idea that this tells a story. Where's this little guy going? And then also it's kind of cute because you go, oh, if that's it during the spring and then that's it during the summer, oh, I wonder what winter looks like. Yeah. And those kinds of changes, and they're all subtle. None of them are massive changes. You can overlay these on top of each other really easily. But the subtle differences are kind of what makes the world feel, again, realistic and lived in. You get these same frames through all the seasons, and you get a whole year worth of the plane. That's quite cool. And you compare it to the ones like the other basics, and it's like they're pretty artworks, don't get me wrong, but they don't really tell much of a story. I do like this perspective of it making everything feel a lot bigger, because all of the perspectives are from behind the critter, kind of them looking out into the world ahead of you. So it's kind of setting the scene and the frame from your perspective as their perspective, which is quite nice and immersive.
Yeah.
So yeah, suffice it to say, big fan. I also like the fact that they do this thing where they've got the mana symbol on the far left at the bottom instead of being in the middle. They play around and sometimes they change it. This is the one that I think works really, really well. So alternate artworks.
Yeah.
We've got the showcase, which is... Can I just say, when they're all side by side, it looks fantastic because they all kind of bridge each other, and the left and the right of the artwork link up between cards. It's got this kind of I don't want to say book kind of effects. It's got I don't know, fleur-de-lis kind of flourishes and nice leaf pattern borders and things that make it feel like it is within a storybook. Yeah. And the artworks are a lot more flat. They're not so photorealistic. They do feel like illustrations more, which is quite nice. Again, it sets the pace and sets the tone for the set and for the artworks. And some of them are phenomenal. I'm a big fan of, say, Dawn's Truce. Dawn's Truce is just funky nutter butter acid trip, which I'm a big fan of. Alania, Divergent Storm, has just enough motion blur and stuff in it to make it kind of really feel like there's movement happening within the frame. I'm really glad that the Infamous Cruel Claw is shit, because it means that no offense in comparison to the regular artwork.
Yeah, the Infamous Cruel Claw regular artwork makes them seem like they are a cutesy weasel with their eye is kind of gouged out, but if you as in that's the defect because they're evil, but if you were to see the rest of it, they're just a cutesy weasel. The alt art for Infamous Cruel Claw very much paints them as the villain.
Makes them look like a bandit and a bad guy. Yeah.
Scraggly as fuck. Yeah. You think, well, hang on a minute.
And it's missing all the bright colour. It's got a big burst of amber, like fire and flare coming from behind him, which is cool, and he's holding the rapier in a much more like riposte kind of style.
Yeah.
But there's something about the regular artwork and how much it pops and how evocative with the fireworks in the background. It's kind of like, you sometimes need a pool to play the regular border when there's kind of like, especially with how much is opened of sets nowadays, getting the alternate artwork is typically not very expensive. So you usually are like, well, why wouldn't I go for the fancy artwork, especially if it's an aesthetic that I like, which usually for the showcases they do a pretty good job of. And it's nice for them to to load the regular set with much more cutesy, indulgent, photorealistic artwork, and then have this more flat kind of style that, it has a stylistic quality to it, but maybe isn't so rich and maybe isn't so doesn't have so much depth to it. So there is a benefit sometimes to going for the regular border, even though you might like the alternate border. It's like, but the artwork's better, and it's quite nice that they get to do that. It doesn't feel like they're saving all the good stuff and putting it all in one pile. They kind of spread the love. There is also the anime style-esque, because it's not full-on anime, raised foil treatment that about 20 cards get. I think 17 different cards get. These are like the absurdly expensive Surge kind of foil-esque kind of cards. Some of them are really expensive because they are delightful and they're quite rare. And other ones aren't quite so expensive and are still delightful and look gorgeous. This is like the Jace the Mind Sculptor as a fox. The Imagine Critters kind of falls into a couple of these. Nissa, Who Shakes the World, is in this as well as a frog, which I don't... Some of them are cute. Some of the
we'll talk
conversions...
about we'll talk about Imagine Critters in a second. That's a whole discussion.
And then there's the extended artwork, full artwork treatments on a bunch of special guest cards. So there'll be some cards from the set, like say Season of Gathering has a really, really cool gathering all your dudes in a plaza kind of look to it, whereas opposed to the regular seasons were all kind of like flat, almost like a tapestry kind of looking things. They looked a lot more like sagas in their style. And then you also have reprints of like Chatterfang and Squirrel Mob, Ant Queen, weirdly enough, and then some others that are okay and cool and fun.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
And then I'll get to Imagine Critters.
So they did something rather strange. So obviously the metaphysics of Bloomburrow is that when the humanoid characters, i.e. the ones that aren't Bloomburrowers. Oh, there we go.
Bloomburrowers.
Step onto Bloomburrow. Right. There are no humans on Bloomburrow. There are no... I was about to say bipeds, but actually they're all bipeds, aren't they? There are only... Well, they're all bipedal mice and shit.
Yeah, I was just trying to... I had to do a quick check through all of them.
You can't say there are no humans on Bloomburrow because there's no Gorgons or Centaurs either. So what's the qualifier?
They're all human. Well, there are no humans.
No, but...
They're humanoid.
But there's no anything else. They all have to be woodland animals of some description.
Well, I guess, yeah, because...
A dryad doesn't go onto Bloomburrow and stay a dryad.
No. But then if you look at, say, Khan, for example, who's an inanimate in terms of, like, living, he got turned into a tree.
So let's talk about it.
Yeah, so that's a metaphysical intrigue, right?
They did one in each Planeswalker deck, and then they did someone in a secret layer as well. So there's a bunch of Planeswalkers that are basically become Bloomburrow-fied, furrified, crittered, much like Ral and Jace.
Yes.
So let's quick fire through them a little bit. Oh, someone's knocking around. A little bit like how we did the... What do you call it? What did we call it? Outlaws or Bastards?
Yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah. Whether we like or we don't like.
Yeah. So what are we saying?
Critter or crapper?
Critter or varmint?
Varmint. Yeah, sure.
Crapper isn't though.
No. Okay, so I just went for something that sounded cute.
Critter or varmint?
Critter or varmint. Okay, yeah.
All right. Well, let's start with the... Have you got them up?
Yeah, I've got them.
All right, you got them.
Me? Oh, fuck, okay. So we start with a couple of birds. Kakar wins Fury.
Varmint.
It's a bird already.
It's already a bird!
And he loses his hand, cool, but it would have been nice to see you turn... I mean, also, but if you're already a bird, would you ever turn into anything other than a bird?
No, I think he could turn up on Bloomburrow with his hands and people would be like, oh, you got an otter's hands. Was your dad an otter?
Yeah. You know what I mean? What kind of cross-species shit's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of interesting that for the most part, everything would be normal apart from he'd lack the ability to grip things.
Yeah, like it.
No, I mean, it doesn't... artwork-wise, fucking stunning, though. Ishai, also just still a bird. Ojutai Dragon Speaker. That's a varmint for me. Why is it showing up? Don't care. Unless it's just another Link to Tarkir. One thing I really don't like, and I hope you can agree, is if it's already a fucking animal... Why are you putting it in Bloomburrow? The Gitrog monster.
Yeah.
It's already a frog.
Waste of a
Why
slot.
are you making it a frog?
So there's a theme here, because the next one is Derevi.
Which is already a bird. And then they're just already... I mean, I guess they, again, lose another set of limbs, so it's kind of actually more interesting for them because they're almost exactly the same, except for they lose the humanistic quality, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, shit, I'm armless.
Yeah.
I actually now just have to flap all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it would be more kind of... I say more frustrating for them. I mean, I feel like we'll get there, but... Quain, already a rabbit.
Quain's a really interesting pick for this because Quain was in the original Commander Legends as one of those kind of random, like, this is a new character, where they're going to be, maybe it's a placeholder. But Archelios, or whatever his name was, which was the Sultai Turtle commander,
Yeah.
that has been confirmed that he is a Bloomburrower.
Oh, so they are from Bloomburrow because
no, but this is the thing. I don't think... Because Quain doesn't look like any of the other rabbit folk in terms of his proportions.
I guess we also don't know the whole plane, but the way I look at it is that he's gripping something, well, not with a paw, but with like a hand. But then, if you look behind, the other rabbits still have paws.
And also, his proportions in the artwork are the same as his other card.
But then, shouldn't he have... So does this mean he hasn't transformed?
Yeah.
Because he's close enough to the thing he already is, the plane just goes, that's fucking good enough.
Or the card that we saw him initially, he was on Bloomburrow, like Archelios.
Yeah, so but then also, why then wouldn't Kakar remain to keep his hands if they don't change Quain's hands into paws?
This is why they shouldn't have done explicit.
Should we go and look at the other rabbits and see if they can, how they're holding things?
Well, then no,
they have actual hands?
They have paws. They have pawry paws.
Yeah, but so how are they holding shit?
Well,
no, I don't know. They've got finger. That is definitely fingery fingers.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's just an inconsistency in the artwork, in the art style. Okay, cool. So it could still absolutely be just from a slightly different part of Bloomburrow. I don't know. Again, why would you put a rabbit?
So this whole top line of varmints.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of any of them so far. No.
All right.
Baleful Strix, not even a legendary. What? This isn't even an interesting character. This is not Imagine Critters. This is just a bird.
Oh my god! It is Imagine Critters.
It's just a bird, mate.
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
Okay. It's just us shouting why into the... another one that's kind of a little bit... Yeah, I kind of get it. No, probably shouldn't do anything else with it. Tameo Field Researcher.
I like it.
She's now full actual furry from fucking... What's her name? Officer Hops? This is just full Officer Hops furry bait.
But that's because, so the moon folk in Kamigawa
are rabbits.
Well, they are rabbit folk in as much as if you had to assign an animal to them.
Yeah.
But they're about as rabbit folky as, I don't know, fucking like Viashino are like
lizards,
explicitly a type of lizard. Like you kind of go, well, there's like they're so not. Do you know what I mean?
They're humanoid. They're humans with rabbit features rather than be rabbits with human features.
Well, there is another Imagine.
Whereas this is a rabbit with human features.
There is another Imagine Critters that we'll get to where I will posit this argument as to why. Like, it's in a similar vein. Yeah. So, for me, this is a critter.
Okay. Good. Yeah, no, I can agree. I'm a critter for this. Teferi, Time Raveler. Another bird?
Yeah.
How is it holding the staff?
I never thought of Teferi as being bird-like.
How is he holding the staff? Because he can't grip and it's just attached to his wing somehow?
No, you can see, look, he's got like a little thumb feather.
Does he?
Yeah.
Where?
Around the...
Oh, yeah, the black... Oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
I couldn't tell you what bird that is.
No, it's like a cockatrice looking, like... Also, it's like a peacock, almost. It's got a kind of... Yeah. But again, why a bird? When there's also so many other birds that you've put into the plane.
Is it just because he's blue and everything blue?
Well, maybe, because we'll get to another blue planeswalker in a moment that is also a bird. I like the artwork a lot. I think it looks really pretty, but for me, the question mark above it...
I don't think it looks like Teferi.
No, I don't... If you took the name away, I couldn't think... Apart from, obviously, the staff, I would not think in any way, shape, or form, Teferi.
No, whereas the Tameo... I don't know, Tameo sort of looks like Tameo. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, Varmint for me.
Varmint, yeah. I like this next one, actually. Domri, on Anak of Bolas, is like a porcupine.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah, this is good. Again, it's also nice to have just a random, like, oh yeah, Domri. And again, he's such a different type of character. It's nice that we get a porcupine, which otherwise don't have in the set, which is kind of interesting. It's not just another bird.
Yeah, I like it.
So yeah, he's a critter. Garrick, Cursed Huntsman. A badger bear looking... It looks like it's bear.
Know.
I think it's a bear.
But does that make him a calamity beast, then?
I mean, he's the cursed huntsman. Yeah, he seems like a calamity.
The problem I have... I actually really like this for Garrick as in terms of, like, Garrick's big sort of bear hunter.
Yeah.
The problem is, I guess, wow, they're all doing it. I was about to say he is so humanoid clothing with, like, a hood and everything, but then you look at the next one, which is Elspeth.
Yeah, which is very much it. And the thing I like about this Elspeth is that if you look at any of the creatures of the... So before you go to, what creature would Elspeth be? It goes, of the creatures of Bloomburrow, which of them represent Elspeth's ideology the best? And that would be the mice. Yeah, the super heroic, standing up for the righteous. It's kind of interesting that they did, obviously, this version, because if they'd done Archangel, she would have had to have been a bird again.
So yeah, they've done Elf's Sun's Champion, and they've got sunflowers in the background of the artwork. It's
so pretty.
Yeah,
it's
so
really
is Garrick a critter or a varmint?
Sorry, Garrick is a critter. Yeah. Again, it's an animal we haven't otherwise seen. It might even be a wolverine. It might not even be a badger. Like it's that kind of like. Yeah. I think it's cool. Again, it's a critter we haven't really seen, and it plays to him as a big burly bear.
Yeah,
yum yum.
And Elspeth's definitely a critter.
Definitely a critter. Again, both artwork and again, we don't have any other mice. Makes sense. Fits thematically. Cunning as a fox, Jace the Mind Sculptor.
I don't think Jace is foxy.
Oh man, it's hard for me to not. It's hard for me to not look at a fox artwork and go, "That's cool."
Foxes are sort of like
whiny
shysters.
Yeah, he is a shyster. He literally mind shysts.
Yes, but he's very cerebral.
Jace the mind shyster.
He's cerebral. Foxes are like wily.
Yeah, I suppose.
Jace isn't wily. If anything, he's bumbly.
I could imagine it more being someone like. I can imagine. Tezra.
Why couldn't have Jace been a lizard folk? He could have been a chameleon.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Oh,
that's cool. Yeah, but I guess they had to separate Vraska as a reptile. They didn't want to have the overlap too much.
That's the best thing they could have done. They could have had Vraska and Jace both be lizard folk on Bloomburrow because they're so fucking perfect for each other. Ugh. This is a varmint for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm gonna have to say critter. It's a fox, man. Like, what do you want from me? I could have sworn also it's not here, but didn't Vraska get one where she's a snake? Where is it? Where is it? I can't see it. Interesting. She's not listed down here. That's very annoying. What do you think of Vraska as a snake? You can't see the image of it, but it's like a normal like.
It's tremendous Flavour.
Yeah. You think Flavour fail?
Yes. They explicitly say in the story that she's a lizard.
True. Didn't they say it was a type of... I guess they already know what snakes are because there are calamity snakes.
But that's the whole point.
Yeah.
They can't make her a calamity beast because that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah,
so I think that's a really poor judgment.
That's also a varmint. Narset, Parter of Veils. You can't tell me you look at that and know that's Narset. It looks really cool. Like, again, I get Blue Mage's birds, cool, fine, that's what you're going for. But you look at that, you take the name and everything else away. You can't say that's Narset off the bat.
Yeah, I mean,
I couldn't look at that and you'd say, apart from because it's got water in it, it looks very similar to another artwork of Narset.
Do you think there's an element with some of the characters that are from planes that are so distinctly from certain parts of the world that they were kind of limited in the animals they could potentially be based on the animals that would be found in that part of the world and are associated of?
Yes, I also think now I look at it that they're all basically in the same pose as their original artworks for the most part, apart from Quain isn't. But her artwork, similar to like Elspeth's Sun's Champion, I'm pretty sure she's got a similar stance in her original artwork. It might just be that they were like, oh, we just need to convert this card into a creature, and it worked better to have a bird with the water flapping around rather than it being like, say, like a seahorse or something. Like you can't make a planeswalker a fish and make it look cool.
Yeah.
Right. And I think like you lose the diversity, but also birds can look so different that you can get away with having vastly looking different birds, so it doesn't all feel like it's the same. Whereas it's hard to make rabbits look too different,
So there's a secret layer with the critters on it, which are not on this page.
Okay.
So I'm gonna pull it up.
Okay, cool. What are you for, Narset? Critter or varmint?
Bird's boring. Critter. Varmint. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm a varmint. Again, it's also really, really pretty. Doesn't look like Narset. Liliana of the Dark Realms is a grey squirrel. I do like her as a squirrel with a big bushy tail. And again, we don't really have another squirrel represented. I think she's a critter.
Yes.
They're the necromancers of the plane, and she's a necromancer.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. She is a bit of a hoarder. In terms of she's got trinkets and trophies.
True, she does, yeah, from various planes.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen her, like, as a skunk, maybe. Oh, I remember which other ones you're going to show me as well. I forgot there's also a Sorin, isn't there? But we've got two more to get through. Nissa, Who Shakes the World. Frog.
I like it.
Really good. Yeah, well, the frogs are the ones who delve into the ley lines and bring the magic from the earth,
Do you know what? And this is maybe showing my colours as to, you know when people who focus on things that they don't like and it kind of shows more about, like, who they are and you think... Like, there's that old trope of, like, homophobes who are, like, so virulent because they're afraid of their own sexuality.
Yeah. They're like, oh, I hate how much I might like a penis.
Which, is sometimes true, sometimes not. I really like Nissa as a frog because there's such a tendency, and there was such like you look at maybe even the Tamio one, and you're right, it is like hops, very sort of cutesy bunny. There's fucking furry like stuff out there, which is actually fine, and there's like Rule 34 stuff out there, and it'd be very easy to capitulate just to that aesthetic. Whereas they've gone for Nissa. Well, I mean, yeah, being Pokemon fans, it's obviously fucking grotesquely right, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
But like, they've made Nissa a frog, which is not like Nissa as a character.
It's not a graceful creature.
Nissa's always been portrayed as being quite a conventionally attractive character.
Yeah, but I also like the fact that she has never felt like she's very sure of herself.
Her as a sexualized being has never been part of the story.
No,
and like that is to the testament of the fact that a big part of her story is her sexuality and romantic relationship, but she has not been sexualized.
No,
which
I feel like she doesn't know how to fully express love.
Stay the goddamn course, Wizards. But like, you know, the fact that she's a frog, I don't know, does that say more about me that I fancy Nissa? So I'm like, it's great that she's not some sort of super sexy fox. Do you know what I mean?
Riveted for your pleasure.
Oh dear.
And then last but not least, on these ones at least,
last but not least, on these ones at least.
Thanks for repeating that. Appreciate it.
It sounded like a Willy Wonka rhyme.
Thank you. Khan the Great Creator. Dude's a tree, mate. It's a fucking tree, mate. I
just spat out my drink everywhere. I'm really sorry.
Oh, you did? Over your new cards.
That's so funny. I knew he was there, but it's when you vocalised it. It's the dumbest fucking thing. He's got his own face.
I know, it looks like the Deku Tree, the Great Deku Tree. Do you know what really annoys me is it really works.
He's the only one that's not being credited.
Yeah. The way I like it is the plane doesn't know how to handle like a non like living creature.
And he goes,
that's
what it is.
I guess I'll make you into a tree then. And it's like, but they're also alive. It's like ish.
That's so funny.
They're not alive in the same way, are they? They don't move around. They haven't got flesh and stuff. But it's so funny.
You're right. The plane has literally gone. I don't know what you are.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make you a tree.
He has to stay in one place. Yeah. That's why he's so freaking upset.
I know. He could have been a rock. He could have been any other thing. But it's so funny.
So good.
And then you don't see any fucking fauna off of it either. He's just got this kind of weird, like globulous, like fucking branches.
Thank God they made him a tree instead of like a cooking pot or something.
I could. Yeah, I don't know what else they could have done. Like, yeah, exactly. But yeah, very cool. Right, so what ones are in the secret lair? Sorry, obviously he's not a critter, but he's definitely not a varmint.
Oh, let's give him a critter.
Yeah, he's definitely a critter. And obviously Nissa we critted as well.
Yeah. Soren Markov, the OG, is a bat folk.
I like how they could have made him a sexy fruit bat. Nah. He's got the horrible nose. He's got the nose going on. It's all like...
He's got his actual hair. He's got his own hair.
It's so cool. Also, sword and wings seems like it'd be a really bad mix.
You couldn't get a good swing.
Also, you could just have knives on the end of your wing. I don't know. It's cool. Of course he's a bat. Of course he is.
He's got to be very different to the other bats of the plane. They must look at him and be like, fuck are you,
man? Why have you got hair?
Why, like, chill out. Look at the stars. What
have you been? Have you been to New Capenna with that hairstyle?
Yeah.
Just put a toupee on a cat, mate.
Do good. Critter. Yeah. What else is going to be?
I don't dislike it.
We have Huatley Radiant Champion, so the green-white one.
Is she also a bird?
She's a parrot.
See, that I don't mind because she's a bard.
Oh, yeah.
She's a speaker.
Bird of paradise.
And also, I like the fact that, again, it kind of works-ish with some of them because that plumage-wise, I could kind of understand, okay, that looks like Huatley, because she also has feathers in her headdress.
She does, but the feathers are not the colours that this bird is.
No, also, don't the feathers come from the dinosaurs? Because somehow the dinosaurs still have feathers.
How is she not a reptile?
How is she not a lizard with feathers? A bearded dragon or something?
Oh, we've swung all the way around. It started so well.
But the thing is, again, it comes down to a very simple thing. It's another fucking bird. And as much as you can do various different styles of bird, it's still a fucking bird, and it could have been something else. Yeah.
Oh, varmint, I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, we were close.
Whew, that is a brutal varmint, but I like it. I think we've reasoned it out.
Yeah.
Kiora, Behemoth Beckoner, the uncommon one from War of the Spark. She's a fucking axolotl.
That you can't do better than that, right?
That is so good.
Because I was thinking about Narset earlier about being like, well, how would you do something that's fish related and still look cool?
Because she can't be a fish because the fish aren't sentient.
No, it's also you can't be a fish folk when you're already a fish folk because the parts again, it's the difference between a merfolk, which is a human with fish features, whereas this needs to be a fish with human features, which you can't really do.
This is the one that I was comparing to. What's her chops? Tamio.
Mm-hmm.
Because she is a fish person. Tamio is a rabbit person. But they're so removed from... You wouldn't look at Kiora and be like, oh, you're a giant fish. She's clearly a merfolk.
Yeah. Well, she could have maybe been like an octopus.
But again, they're not sentient on Bloomburrow.
No,
the axolotl is perfect.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't see many sea creatures, to be fair.
My only teeny gripe isn't the axolotl what do you call it?
It's an amphibian.
Yeah, but they're like a tadpole form of another thing, aren't they?
I don't believe so. I feel like they sit in the same kind of realm as salamanders do. There are such things as like water salamanders, and that's kind of it. Because like the bits on its head absorb. That's how they absorb oxygen.
I was always convinced that people you can breed axolotl by
playing
with their hormones.
Yeah, I don't think it grows into anything other than a bigger axolotl.
Right now.
I
have to know. Axolotl is a pseudomorphic salamander closely related to the tiger salamander. It's unusual among amphibians that it reaches adulthood without undergoing metamorphosis.
Oh, so it's an underdeveloped.
So it's its own thing.
Yeah,
but it strikes differently because it doesn't go into.
It doesn't do the process. Yeah.
So it's kind of weird what they're saying about Kiora, that she's sort of underdeveloped.
She is, from a character point of view. We haven't seen her in a while. But I mean, that's Critter to me.
Yeah, Critter.
Yeah, big fan.
I didn't like your explanation. But...
Sorry. It was your explanation. I just put the pun on the end of it.
Tezzeret, Master of the Bridge.
Oh, fuck, I didn't realize they actually gave us a Tezzeret.
The best Tezzeret. I have won so many games with this guy in my We're Not Gonna Argue deck.
What is he?
Rat folk.
Oh, of course. Well, we haven't had a rat, have we? And he is blue-black, and rats are blue-black.
He's kept
Can I
his
see?
Can
I see? Is the dreads? Are there dreads involved?
Well,
kinda.
Yeah, he's got kind of like
Oh! I've accidentally done a thing. There we go.
You haven't found my secure folder, have you?
No. Yeah, it's kind of because this isn't him. Is this him? Because this isn't him with his Darksteel body, right?
No.
Because he's still seemingly got the planar thingy.
Planar bridge.
Planar bridge in his arm, yeah. Again, we don't know what time of these are set. I guess we always assume this is just from the frame of where that was in their point in time. Yeah, because Kiora has the fucking Bident of Thassus still.
And Tamio isn't dead.
Why do you have to keep pointing this out?
Tamio is fucking dead. Yeah, and before she was dead, she was undead.
Mate, I got to win another game with her the other day.
I don't care. I really like your Tamio deck. I just don't like how much you like it. Do you know what I mean?
That's such a horrible... that's such a friend thing. Where it's like, I love you, but I don't want you to be this happy.
If you stop enjoying it so much... Then
it's not my fault you played my lab man. Okay? I didn't force you to.
The only reason I played your lab man is because I thought
it would be easier to remove.
Get out the win con into the open, kill it,
and then no one killed it. So it was just thanks for playing my
win on your next turn.
Yeah, because you didn't activate. Anyway, we're getting off kilter. Last one.
Vraska Golgari Queen, so the Ravnica Allegiance one.
Yep.
There's a snake.
So was she maybe a snake then, and now she's more of a lizard? No, we're not doing that.
I think.
Would you
this
always?
This is a blue Ozolith, orange Ozolith thing.
If you went through vast changes to your persona,
right,
in between times of visiting Bloomburrow, would you go back as a different animal each time?
If
you become more feral, would you?
I see what you're saying.
How does Bloomburrow translate you?
Is a snake, and then say whatever she was in fucking Thunder Junction, the character card she had. She's a lizard. It's the blue Ozolith, orange Ozolith from fucking Ikoria. They clearly didn't talk to each other, and the critters person
just didn't.
Just went fucking. Oh, is it Dimitri Bermak? Yeah, great. It's a fantastic artwork.
Again, it's. I do know what you mean. Yeah, purely on it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make canonical sense. It has to be a varmint. But I do again like the fact they gave us a different critter to everything else.
If I wrote a story for Magic and I said Jace took a sip of his mango smoothie. He said, I fucking hate mangoes. Yeah. And then they did a card and they were like, it's him fucking eating mangoes like they're going out of style. You'd go, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, I guess also the problem is, right, so from the point of view of Bloomburrow, you can't have Vraska become a snake because snakes are predators and aren't one of the races, right? You have to have her be a lizard folk to blend in with the story of Bloomburrow.
Yeah.
But from a Imagine Critters point of view, of course she'd be a fucking snake. She's a gorgon.
But this is why some of these ancillary products.
Well, yeah, it's a cute.
Don't seem to give a shit.
Well, this is very clearly a what if. It's not an actual version of this. It's not actually within that. It's not canon.
I know, but look at what we've been saying about Bloomburrow as a set.
Yeah, but this is removed. This is completely
removed.
But
this is
you've got to imagine. You've got to imagine
this is
it.
This is them going here's a really beautiful cake I've baked for you, and here's a fucking queef that I fucking put on a plate and put some sugar on top of it, eat that shit, and they're both on the same coloured plate, and be like, they're both magic.
Yeah, but they're not. That's in a secret lair. It's completely removed from the set.
Also, I'm going to double back. There's nothing wrong with queefing. I made it sound like it's horrible.
God, I love a queef, mate. Good. Well, we're clearly at the end of the episode as we're discussing queef.
The human body is what it is. I'm just not trying to have a go at anyone who queefs.
I just, a little toot is quite cute. Anything else to say about the set, Andy, man?
I feel like I've said enough.
So do I. So, if I'm not going to do the outro. I'm really bad at it. You do the outro.
Let us know how you feel about Bloomburrow and indeed Imagine Critters at MT Flavouring. That's with an O-U-R on X, formerly known as Twitter. Emails go to mtflavouring@gmail.com. My X account... It's never going to work. At Andy Manface. Nathan's, yours is?
At The Fox in the Moon.
We are also now sort of on YouTube in terms of, like, obviously we've had a YouTube channel for a while, but YouTube content is, like, you can see why it's a full-time job for some content creators.
Fuck yeah.
You can see why TikTok's become popular, because whilst TikTok is hard work, obviously shorter media...
Yeah, you don't have to do so much.
It's a different style, right? And it's quicker up to load. I'm not a fan of TikTok, we're not going to do it. But what TikTok have started to do, because they've properly launched YouTube Music, what YouTube are trying to do, as their podcast arm, which bought and took over Google Podcasts. So Google Podcasts doesn't exist.
So we've kind of slipped into their pocket.
So you had to Google Podcasts as the podcast, as a person. So that was my main podcast app for what I listened to. And they kept saying, like, this is going to close. If you want to take all your RSS feeds or whatever and move them over, we are directly moving them over to YouTube Music. YouTube Music is now the app that Google Podcasts was. So I think they just bought up the rights because they're not the same company, I believe. I actually could be wrong about that. And so what now the YouTube channel proper has given you the option to do, along with it, they are separate technically, but it's like they've upped their game. So now what they used to do is they used to say you just have to upload your podcast as a video in their own right. Now they're saying that you can, this is fucking deep cut podcast shit now, you can upload your RSS feed, which is like your podcast's thumbprint on the internet, so that now all of our episodes are as static, just backgrounded videos on YouTube. So if you prefer to listen to things on YouTube, this is a roundabout way of saying, not only are we on YouTube Music as the podcast as regular, we are now on YouTube, that you can click on it as the channel and have our podcasts on there.
Nice.
That's a really roundabout way of saying it. The reason it's roundabout is because some channels, if they didn't have an RSS feed to begin with, were able to link their YouTube channel to YouTube Music as one in the same. So there are podcasts out there that I listen to that when I go onto the music app, it's almost like I'm on their YouTube channel. Whereas established podcasts, they have their own feed, like we manage our own feed, and they have their YouTube channel.
I love it when you explain complicated things to me.
I've bored myself. This has taken 4 minutes. Suffice to say, if you want to listen to our fucking podcast...
We're out there on places. You might not want to anymore.
YouTube.
That might have been the end for it. But
and also, that has brought in new listeners as well. Yeah. And if you're a new listener, hello.
Thank you, hello.
Tell your friends about us. We haven't said that for a while, but even if you're a long-time listener, tell your friends about us. We seem to ebb and flow.
Let us know what you're building and shit, you know? We that's something we used to do a lot of, we don't do as much of anymore, is actual, like, gameplay engagement in terms of, like, these are the things we've built for these reasons. And, like, it's kind of funny because I think we've both built quite a few decks recently that we could probably have a little natter about. But
yeah.
Maybe we'll do it.
Well, we've got to get on with fucking Dustmorn. Dustmorn's out today.
Yeah, so Story's already out for Dustmorn. It's looking intriguing. It's very different to Bloomburrow. Very different.
I thought we were really late to the Bloomburrow party because obviously we had a bit of a gap. And I was like, let's get this out. But literally today, I've been on socials and there are many other big creators who are still like, here's our Bloomburrow story. Here's our Bloomburrow flavour pitch.
Well, I'm repurposing the Wyleth Secret Santa deck that I got into Mabel for Isla, and I was asking the group, like, does anyone have any of these, like, random commons or stuff that, you know, because I've got to put a load of mice in it and stuff, and people were like, mate, I've barely unpacked Outlaws of Thunder Junction, I've not even bought any product yet. So it's like, I feel like the general consensus is that the sets are going to release and people just digest them in their own time.
I haven't bought a bundle yet. I wasn't going to buy a Thunder Junction one, sorry. I haven't bought a Bloomburrow one yet, and I'm waiting until I come back from France at the end of this month. Just because payday.
Yeah. I guess it's one of those things of now that Standard rotates over such a long period, there's not really like a time sensitive, like it's not like we're ever going to be releasing the Flavour picks for Bloomburrow one whilst Dustmore's dropping, so I don't feel like it's that big a deal, and I feel like it's just about enough time for people to go, now I've got time to really dig into the set, so our analysis is a little bit more prevalent at that point, instead of just being like, hey, have you heard of all these cards that you've barely even had time to look at yet? Well, let's talk about them, because you have no context, you haven't had time to look at them yet. Whereas now it's like, everyone knows the set, let's have a conversation about it.
I think suffice to say, Bloomburrow is a set that will stick out. Ooh, your phone's buzzing.
Yeah,
will stick out and be. This is not going to be a Markov Manor, Karlov Manor, fuck me, or Thunder Junction.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a set which in 2 years' time people are going to be like, fucking yeah, Rabbit Warrior,
Yeah, you can do like a draft of Bloomburrow in a year's time and people will be real down for it. Yeah. And it seems like, again, it's depowered across the board in general, probably, but that doesn't mean there isn't some strong cards and some really interesting mechanics and stuff in there. Yeah, I feel like you can do some really busted stuff with some of these cards. Well, we didn't talk about Rao, but Rao's pretty absurd. Storm is not a mechanic they should print very often.
No.
But, yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. This has been Magic Flavour.
We'll see you soon.